So now what we're going to do is get in RAD-IT. So if you were able to load up RAD-IT and open the software, and do you guys have it? Who has it? Nobody? Okay, got over here. We want to slide around, or I'm going to put stuff up on the screen as we go. There's a, and what we'll do is right now with time, we'll walk through this together. There's a sheet that was in the back just with the RAD-IT exercise. And so what we'll do, I'll put it up on the screen. If you've got the software up and running, you can follow along. If not, I'll throw it up here on the screen. So I'll pull it for RAD.
So that is the draft version of our actual thing that we're going to use. But again, I think it can be wherever. I think we just loaded it from.
Okay. So here we go. We got RAD-IT up here on the screen.
We're gonna have to download draft database first, right?
If you want to use, you guys want to just, you want me to just do it on the screen, or you want me to? Okay, so we'll, if you go to the website, see if that gets the website,
or the one we were,
our website.
Yeah. Well, it's not yet. It will be. It's local.iteris.com/IndyArch. INDYARCH. That should. Yep. Architecture. Go to resources and download it. That is our database. Yep. It should download it. And then that will open in the RAD-IT.
Okay, you'll need to unzip it.
Oh,
we're going to want to unzip it too.
It doesn't.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. So let's zip it somewhere.
People's crazy.
I've never seen hers before. I thought.
Well, when you have one monitors and they open up on
I always
I need admin permission
To unzip it.
Oh, really?
to copy it.
Oh, to your, just unzip it to like your documents.
So do I just open it?
Yeah,
RAD-IT will
open
open
it
it.
on the drive.
Close it. It should open up it.
So if you just unzip it in that location.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get rolling here. So when we open up RAD-IT, we got the
And now if you just double click, it should open.
tabs across the top are really kind of the same tabs as we have on the website. And so the organization here, when I've highlighted the Indianapolis architecture up here on the top, I'm now looking at the regional architecture. Okay. If I highlight any of the projects in the projects box down here below that, I'm looking at those specific projects. So my scope comes down very dramatically when I look at the projects alone. But anything that I do on the tabs beyond the start tab, it depends, what I'm being shown on these other tabs is what I've highlighted. So if I'm highlighting the regional architecture, when I look at each one of these tabs, I'm looking at the entire architecture. But if I've got a project highlighted, when I go to the other tabs, I'm only looking at the stuff that applies for that project. That's an important part. I constantly have a problem. I'm also looking for something. What the heck is gone? Well, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I have to go back to the start tab and highlight that particular part of it. So what I'm going to do.
I don't think I realized that, but it explains a lot.
So let's just walk through this example here, this exercise. What we're trying to do, I want to go through and create a project that's not there, because I think that's probably going to be the most common way that you interface with the architecture, is defining your project for what you want to do in the architecture. That way you can convey it. That's you're not going to worry about all the other stuff with the architecture. It's about your project. So in this case, we're going to create a project. It's going to involve creating a new element that we don't have in the architecture right now, and then defining services. We're not going to get into a whole lot of great detail, but it's going to be something a little bit more simple. But I'm also going to make sure that you understand how we look for things in the national architecture, so we get guidance from that as well. So the scenario here, if you haven't read it, is a transit operator, suburban go. Hi there. has begun operating fixed route service in a growing municipality in the suburbs. There is a need for an on-time service provision that would support would be supported with transit-critical priority. The suburban municipality and street department has been consulted and agreed to work with the transit operator. The operator plans to expand service to other neighboring municipalities in the next 5 years. In the near term, no connected vehicle technology has been or is planned to be deployed. I should have come the plan part off of it. We need to think about connected vehicle going forward. The operator and the municipality want to convey to their project the IMPO seeking funding for the project. Okay, so we're going to create a project. So what we're going to do is we're on the start path. And if you notice, there's a new button here underneath the projects. We're going to click that new button, and that's going to open up a dialog here on the right side of the screen to enter a name for this project. So we'll call this the Suburban Go TSP. We won't worry about a description right now, but we're going to say in the status, there's a status pull down there. We're going to say it's a planned project. Okay, and we could also be applying geographic scope. So this would be in suburban, whatever we want to do as far as that's concerned. And we could also track who developed it and whatnot going forward. One key part here about updating things or using RAD-IT is every time I make a change to something that's either there or something new, there's always an apply button. Okay, we got Microsoft Access working in the background here. In order for Microsoft Access to make a change to it, we have to apply it. So we want to apply that change. That will now establish the project framework within the architecture, and it shows up here on our project list. All right. Let's say existing. I thought I said that. Okay, so we got a planned project. I'm not going to go through the planning tab, but if we wanted to, we could select which relate to it, or actually we can just do that. Let's say we'll just attach it to here with the improved job access, and so that we'd have to apply that one also. So now we've tied it to.
Those aren't in the version we all just downloaded.
You don't have. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. You don't have that.
Are these goals that are defined by the MPO?
The transportation plan 2015.
Like in theory, we could probably add other organizations' goals, perhaps. Like if Indigo has a set of goals.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, if Indigo had goals you wanted to put in here and tie your projects to them, perfect.
So that'll be these goals will all be included in the next version of the
next version that I put up on the website will have it. Yeah. Yep. So let's go to inventory first. So I want to show you something else from the standpoint of stakeholders when we get there. So inventory, we know that suburban municipal street department, we want their operations and dispatch. That's what we've been talking to. We know that it's TSP, so we're going to have some kind of roadside equipment at the cabinet that we want to include for TSP, but not the CAV. We wanted the roadside. So there are plans in the architecture from the standpoint of CAV. But right now we're just worried about straight up ITS equipment. And we can see there's a description here when we select each one of these. And if you notice, when I've highlighted the different elements, you can see what it's mapped to in the national architecture, the physical objects from the national architecture in the bottom right-hand corner, as well as a description of that. And also know who the stakeholder is that's associated with that particular element I've highlighted. Okay, so if I hit apply, those elements that I just selected are now applied to the project. But I have this new project, a new stakeholder that's arrived with the I want to add. So I at the bottom of the list here on the stakeholders, I click new. And now I can enter a new stakeholder, or a new element, I should say. So now I'm gonna enter the suburban transit operations. Okay, and it's a center, so, and it's just something that exists, and so, I want to associate it with something in the national architecture. So if I scroll through here, I'm just going to give you the cheat sheet version of it, looking for Transit Management Center. And I'm going to click that and select it for this project. I'm going to hit apply. Yeah, you have to scroll back halfway, a little less than halfway down. There's not an order.
Not a certain order.
It's sure.
Oh, you got it.
Other
Okay.
transit.
No, you want transit.
I'm trying to get rid of the way you do that. Yeah, yours is a different order. Here's my advantage. Oh, well, there we go. Camera system.
Okay, so everybody's got that, we've added it, or applied it, so it's now in the architecture. What else do we have that's transit oriented that we want to include in shared transit signal priority?
Okay.
What are we riding along in the bus, right? Okay, so we want to create another one for. We want to create another element for suburban transit vehicle. That's gonna, now, so this is gonna be something a little different here. So this is a vehicle, the last one was a center. This one, we wanna pick the class of this as a vehicle. So remember, we had those different categories of elements or of physical objects in the architecture, center field, personal support, and now this is a vehicle, a transit vehicle. Something that exists, and now we didn't define the stakeholder before. This is a new stakeholder that we don't have in our list, so we want to add this stakeholder assigned to it at the top of this pull down. First, go under stakeholder.
Oh, new.
You're going to select the new stakeholder. Is it let me do that?
Yeah, it popped open for me.
New stakeholder. Did it allow you to enter it?
I think the window's hiding behind. It looks like you have another window open already. I might have just popped up behind yours for some reason.
Oh, here it is. It's over on the
Oh, okay.
So this dialog box should pop up.
So the vehicle was a stakeholder?
I'm sorry, transit.
Oh, okay.
Transit authority. Let's say authority. Okay. That's all we do on that. Advantage. So now we got back. So we go back to the. So I apply that. Oh, I need to assign a physical object.
Figure out where
So then if you scroll down, transit vehicle should just be a little short scroll. Transit vehicle OBE.
Yeah.
We add that. It's going to add vehicle to it too, because there's things in the vehicle that are common across the.
If that's
vehicle types.
Yeah. I have different times.
So I select this.
Oh.
Yeah, transit vehicle. So you should just select transit vehicle and it should.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, you got it. And then just apply.
Vehicle subsystem.
That's fine. It's going to inherit that because there's other characteristics. If I go back to the suburban operations, now I've got that.
Everything from small towns.
I can assign that stakeholder there too.
For the eclipse, don't come here. Right?
Suburban Go Transit Authority. You don't have to put it in there. It's not a big deal. I just misspelled it. So
this works. That's right here.
So now we've got. If I click on the at the top at the elements, and it has that project button. If I press the project button, now I get only the elements that are involved for the project in my list. Now, if I go back to stakeholders tab, there's, I see there's the suburban goes already there, but I don't have the municipalities. If I click on auto select, it'll get this dialog box up. It'll say, do I want to add stakeholders? Yes. It'll continue. it tells me that suburban municipalities, because that element that I selected is there. So yes, I want to add that to the architecture. And there it is. Sure.
To get that where it was.
Project.
I'll just hit project. Okay,
So
so now I just got the 4.
Now do auto select.
Auto select.
Right there to the right.
Oh, we have to go back to the stakeholders tab.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. It's not
Now
that.
auto select. Then add stakeholders.
Continue. Yeah. That's what I'm suggesting that, yeah.
Would there ever be a situation where you would be, instead of using the auto select feature, you would?
We could have done it that way. I find especially if I've added a lot of different elements, it's easier for me to talk about the elements and then and select them all and then go back and say, okay, just select all the stakeholders associated. Okay, so now we got stakeholders, we got inventory. Now it's about what services we're providing. We know we're doing transit signal priority. So if I scroll through my list of services and I can go down to PT,
PT09.
Now there's remember you can see there's a couple of them already identified. There's Indigo Bus Rapid Transit. There's transit signal priority for Indianapolis. Well, remember what I said about unique services for projects. If I highlight the PT09 transit signal priority and I click new at the bottom,
Don't need to go stay with me.
now I can enter it's going to give me the instance of that TSP service.
Yeah, I missed that too.
Right down here.
Oh, so we don't check the box. We
No, you
select
want to check the
the,
box for transit signal priority. What you want to do is we want to create something new.
so just select the where in transit signal.
If I'm not getting to the bottom, getting a flat.
There's two of those.
Yeah, I don't see any, just so you know, we didn't have anything to say on that. And we were like,
Hit cancel on that.
you're right, because we're like, it'd be nice if they asked.
You've already got it highlighted, so just click new. Yeah, there you go. And now you get a new, so there's where it says prints, it has prints around instance.
Yes.
Just put suburban.
Things, you know. We got a lot of ideas. So
Okay.
just good sense of-
Now, note that on the list
They don't-
of the systems involved,
Listen, they don't really ask.
the 4 systems we've identified are there, but the ones that are not identified are saying not in project. Okay, so I know I've already identified these that are there. What it's doing is saying this service involves these particular items. And I've matched it up with what you've selected for the project. So if I click on each one of those that's highlighted there, or that doesn't have the not in project that they're included, I've now included them in project for this service and I hit apply. So now what I've done is I've linked the service with the elements I have in the architecture identified for the project.
The ones we created, which
Ones
is why
we
they were
created.
not in alpha.
Right. So now they've been associated with it. I go over to the interfaces tab.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna build this project. So we've identified all the pieces, we've identified the service, and we look at the service. In the national architecture, when I look at the service for TSP. You can see that it also includes. You can see the transit vehicle here, we've mapped to that already. We have the transit management center that we mapped for Suburban Go. We got the municipal traffic operations center. We have the ITS equipment, the cabinet at the roadside at the signal. It also includes connected vehicle in this particular, this is the overall thing with TSP. This is one of those things I wanted to point out to you. So I'm looking back at the architecture for the reference here, what we want to do. If I look at the top, and you can just, I'm going to put this up on the screen right now. So this is off the national architecture. I'm looking at the physical view. Now, there's this tab called implementations. Well, there's different ways of doing TSP. All right. So we call these different implementations of the service. We have traditional field control, traditional TMC control, and those are all included in this larger diagram we had before. There's connected vehicle field control, that's CITS, cooperative intelligent transportation systems, and center control for connected vehicle. Those are all options. They're all different in how I implement this. You can see how if I'm thinking about connected vehicle down the road, I'll be looking at it differently when I look at it for TSP. So right now, for what we want to do here is we want to pick the traditional TMC control. All right. So if I click on that up here, I'm going to get a different diagram. This is the same diagram, but the pieces pulled out that I only need to worry about for this particular implementation of it. If I went to the connected vehicle, same one, connected vehicle control, where are you? It's a different animal. Okay, but this is where I'd be going in the future when I get connected vehicle. So what do I need to do? I need to plan for this and understand what I'm doing and where I'm migrating over time with connected vehicle. This would be a project in the future that I want to adapt to and I want to plan for it. So I'm looking at these would be two different projects. So really, when I define the one for Suburban Go, and I already know I'm going to probably move into this in the future, I'm going to define this project too. Okay, but
Define a separate project.
Exactly. Because now we're planning for the future.
So now we're in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So new projects in our catalog.
So what we're going to do, and this is why having multiple screens is kind of important when you're doing this stuff. So I can pull this up, this traditional TMC control, and now I can start guiding myself through the selection process of the interfaces. Okay. So with this up, I'm going to pull this off to the side so we can see. So this is our list in RAD-IT. Okay. What I have to do first, nothing is selected. So the included in the project, I have to select out here in the include column to add an information flow. So this is a source. So this would be the source of the element for the information. This is the flow name that's going to be transmitted, and this is its destination. But I don't know, it's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I'm going to build my architecture. So when I click on build, I get this dialog box. I want to point out here the settings. These settings are sliders that basically give me either I'm going to get everything in the architecture, or I'm going to get something that's very specific for what I'm doing with the service. And what I want to do here, I'm going to put this one in the middle. It's going to kind of balance things a little bit. But on the bottom one for flow selection, I'm going to put it on conservative. If I move all the way over here to aggressive, every flow that's identified for this will be added to the architecture as selected for this project. It's going to be this huge long list of things I have to deselect in order to make this project real. So if I slide it all the way over conservative, I make the decisions. In this case, it's going to be a lot easier on us for the example we have. So if you go to that settings, slide that over, and have these configurations for your sliders, and then hit apply.
I don't think I've ever seen software that had a setting for aggressive, but I like that.
I have.
Have you really?
In modeling traffic flow.
Oh, yeah.
For driver behavior.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
That's a different aggressive.
Yes.
Okay, so back to that same dialogue, it's going to ask us about a report if we want it, and we're just going to say no to that. Now it's off building this project architecture. And this is the list of the flows that have resulted in that. If I had selected the aggressive, it would have, instead of saying add interface to tab, it would say included interfaces in your tab. It hasn't added them yet. I have to say yes or no, whether I want to do this. So I'm getting a chance to say yes or no here about whether I want to do this. In this case, we're going to say yes.
Yeah,
And it's going to add those for me to be able to select.
I don't know.
And I just click OK. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you for coming.
They must have put our email.
Okay, so now we've got this list of flows has been updated for the things we're looking for. This is a lot of things, so I want to sort this for myself. I go on the sort tab or button. I pull that down. It gives me different ways to sort the data. What I want to do here, since I'm going to be looking at things as source and destination, I want to do source, destination, and flow name sort. It's going to sort the list. Then here under element, I want to select, if I look back at this diagram that I had, what's the common thing? Roadside equipment. So with this roadside equipment, if I focused on that, I can establish all the interfaces for the project. Okay, so if I go back here and I say off this list, I want to select suburban, municipality, street department, roadside equipment. Now, only the interfaces established in here that are associated with that particular element are illustrated. So if I'm looking for at source destination, we could do it a different way. Maybe we'll do it this way first. I'm looking for we'll sort by flow name. That'll put the flows all in alphabetical order. And I'm just going to look at one here, a couple. So this information flow for right-of-way request notifications, going from the roadside equipment to the traffic management center. And in that direction, I'm looking for right-of-way request notification. I scroll through my list. It's in alphabetical order and get down to right-of-way.
Guess there's not a search function, is there? Okay.
So right-of-way request notification, I'm looking for where I'm going to suburban roadside equipment to the suburban municipal street operations dispatch. Everybody find that?
You're by flow name.
Yeah, so if you go to the sort and do flow name,
We just have the resource off.
Yeah.
I can hit the flow, column.
sort.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
So then go to which?
Right of way.
So the-
Right.
There should be several. Back to the office.
There we go. And then we want the one destination.
Source of
Suburban municipality,
Yeah.
other suburban municipality, or no, suburban municipality.
Yep.
It is checked.
Well, that's checked in the region.
So
Did you say that it's
that would be included.
No, sir. No, sir. No. So what we want to do here, in order to include it in the architecture, we want to look under stat. There's two ways that I can either click the include button, or I'm going to have to select this
so
anyway.
Okay.
Or if I go under the status and select plan, it'll include it for me already. Okay. So one of the other ones we want to include is, and I'm only going to do a couple here. Let's just do the one between the roadside and the vehicle. So local signal priority request. You want to search for that.
Your columns are.
Local signal priority request.
With.
The first one's the same, or the destination, and on mine, they're the source element.
I sorted it.
Worse.
This will be going from the transit
vehicle.
Go transit.
Right. In region.
Right, so you wanna, if it's not in the region,
Agencies
you don't
are
have
supposed to be giving us something they've already
I
created,
wanna do that once planned too.
and so.
Software.
Okay, so after we go through and make all these changes, do we wanna should we hit apply? Or just support by this? Okay. So what we've done is we've added
We have fixed cameras and we're just.
this flow, and we've added this flow. And for right now, we're just leaving it at that.
Now do I see what flows in it? Do I look at the?
Well, what you can do then is see the flows you've added,
Yeah.
go to the limit button, and that shows you the ones that are included in the project.
Fixed cameras, good. And then can I see a diagram?
Very good, that's where we're going next. Go to output,
So as we see like install.
select diagrams,
Also, cameras. Follow me as well.
so, and you select flows. And there's different resolutions you can do, but didn't do preview.
Local priority request to
And there's your
municipality street.
This is gonna be really complex.
This is like all very advanced.
It becomes something you just have to work with it a little bit, and then you start to think ahead about what.
We're gonna have you provide us exercises like every 2 weeks.
Wait, so how did we get to that?
I just
Okay,
added,
so if you
just
go-
included them.
So if you included them, then go to output
Output,
tab,
okay,
diagrams, then you get this box right here,
okay,
click flow, and then preview.
here's where I see if mine looks like yours.
Yeah.
Wait, okay.
Okay?
Well,
I was gonna say,
I said existing.
you were mentioning exercises, the pasta,
acronym.
I love that.
And had us do the market, they have like a training thing you go through with videos where you go through kind of set that thing. It's like an Indianapolis type. I think it's like an Italian city as well.
Yeah.
It's like pasta and
Yeah.
everything, but it takes you through the RAD-IT software.
Nice.
So that's something you guys might be interested in.
So they download a different database in order to play with that.
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
and
tutorial,
the database is already in RAD-IT, so I think you can go to like file and there's like a load demo or something.
Cool.
Yeah,
So it's right in there.
So you won't have to send us something.
Yeah, like we do like videos with.
Yeah.
Here, let's add something interesting to this.
Okay, so just to close this up, I'm not gonna, you have to watch the screen up here. Roles and responsibilities, if we hit auto select, it will give us a dialog box. We wanna create one for our project, that's what I usually do. That way it's all confined. And you continue, it'll go out and say, okay, here's the roles and responsibilities that need to be added. Say yes, it gives you that. Actually, it's like, these are the ones that are added. Then I go up to define each one of these roles and responsibilities. I can say, well, the municipality is going to be responsible for coordinating signal timing or priority. Transit bus or authority will be responsible for coordinating, communicating bus occupancy, scheduled performance, and there may be parameters for how that's those kind of things need to be taken into account. Those would all be added here. On the function side, this would identify all the. You can see that there's just a yellow box next to it. That means there's no functions identified for it. If I do the auto select, it'll look at the architecture, the project that we've got. It'll give you a diagram here. I want to do this for the project architecture. And when I hit continue, it gives me these functional objects that are applying for that particular service to these elements in the architecture. I want to add those, yes. Easy button. It's the easy button. Now, the hard button is for each one of these, I want to define requirements. So those are my functions. You can see there's an F, a script F here. That means functions have been identified for those elements. I want to apply requirements. I get another dialog box, and this gives me a set of functional requirements to start selecting from for those particular, whatever this service is. Remember how I had those different instances of or implementations of the service? Connected vehicle, whether it was field operated or it was center operated, all those requirements associated with those different implementations are identified here. So I want to go through here, and in this case, we're doing field. So under traffic or signal control. So what are we looking for? Collect signal controller status. Looking for one. Shall maintain. There's one about accepting information.
There's processing, process collected traffic.
Something too particular. Shall exchange information with transit management centers. So if we would have picked the center, the communication. So if I would have said, okay, I'm requesting priority, but it's actually not going to go through the controller. Actually, the vehicle, the transit vehicle is going to communicate with the transit management center. The management center and the traffic management center will communicate and request it. That avenue would be supported by this particular one. I include that, and then it's applied, and then it's included now in my list of requirements that's associated with that particular functional object. There's more to this. We don't go through all the details. It's a little bit more intricate with this, but this now gives me a set of requirements now is associated with the project. I'm satisfying Rule 940 as I go through this, but I'm also setting myself up for system engineering the project coming down the line when it comes out of the TIP process. Okay, and then on communications with the standards, another easy button. Over here on the left-hand side of the ribbon is auto select. When I select that, I get this dialog box.
communications.
So I go ahead and say auto select, it's gonna go through all those standards that we have out there. And say, okay, well, here's the two standards you need to be worried about for TSB. These are the things you want to go reference and look into further. If I had agreements that I wanted to establish between the transit agency and the traffic operations, I then would enter it over here and apply it to the project that I would have this associated with it. So now that's associated with it. Okay. I know that was a rush job on that, but I wanted to give you a sense for what it's not necessarily, it's not a very straightforward thing necessarily, but it's not rocket science either. This is perfectly attainable by anybody who, you just have to spend a little time with it and get used to it. But once you start getting used to it, then other things start to become more apparent to you. Okay, so I wanted to give you a taste so it's not something foreign altogether. Any questions on that part of the training so far?
What's on your screen there?
That's the TV,
Oh,
that's
that's the
the,
TV thing. Your control. I must have been hitting one of them all the time. Let's see. So now you could actually, if you say Indigo had a new project, or City of Carmel, whoever, INDOT, and you define a project in the architecture, you're not dealing with the master database, you're dealing with your own instance of it. But if you decided, hey, I want to convey this architecture project to MPO, you can deliver that database to them, and now they have that project. It can be imported into the current architecture.
Can you, so you're just dealing with placing the database within the holding database?
Yeah, we would want to pull the architecture,
Pull the
project
out.
out.
So there's an export of the project, and then there's an import of the project. Okay.
Right. Excellent. Now, the other thing I would just point out to you really quick, just as we define that project.
sorry, can you reshare your screen?
Yep.
I accidentally ended it.
Oh.
Yeah, that was on me.
Oh.
On your, just in your Zoom
Oh, it's
window.
okay. Sorry.
Yeah, wherever you're that's over. If you just make your window bigger, you'll have an option. Yeah, share screen. Right. Too many things. It's got 3 monitors.
Yeah, 4. Okay, so back here on the start tab, so I've defined this project. It's still separate. It's not actually in the content of the regional architecture. If I want to do that, there's this button, project to region, over on the left-hand side here. When I click that, having highlighted that project here, project to region. Now I get another dialog box, and I just click through these things. It's going to tell me, oh, we need to add this to your architecture. It's going to start pulling those things into the regional architecture. So now they show up with everything else. There's nothing wrong with keeping them separate, but if you want to see everything together, then you have to do that in order to pull it together.
We have someone kind of managing the whole, let's call it the database, I would assume. We don't want to just modify it and upload it. Can we separate that component out, I guess I say, and send that to you as an item from us?
Sure.
And then you can add it to the regional, does that make sense?
That makes sense.
What do you do? Just go there and leave it the way it is and save it and say, hey, I added this
Right.
component? Okay.
There's an export function that we would use to pull it in.
Gotcha, okay.